like you can, when we were talking about these and we had already all these quotes and all these sayings, it's like I can just see them and I want them all in my wall.
The conversation is always about, yes, how can we help you? But it's because we're looking for new business, right? But this is different, right? This is something beyond that. This is a gesture.
Words had meaning, and they're very powerful, and the more you say these words to yourself, they remind you and they make you keep going.
It's less, oh, here's David calling again, and more, wow, I did not expect this. This is super cool. And really, the only agenda is that leave somebody feeling good. Okay, so we had a little brainstorm 2 days ago about creating meaningful client gifts.
Yes.
Like there's this activity of generating new business, of being recognized and remembered for our creativity, and to be called on next time a really great project happens, right? And this idea of business development. Well, actually, before we go there, so we wanted to do something special to show our gratitude to those that we have done work with and those that we have started conversations with in the hopes of doing creative work, as a way to like go, hey, don't forget about us. We're over here.
Yeah. And I think that conversation started, well, we kind of like had it, and we always been doing something for the clients. Like past clients are like, you're very good at just doing, hey, how's it going? Is there anything we can help you? But when we came up with the idea of doing something as a giving back to them.
Yeah, because the conversation about, is there something we can do to help you? Oh, go grab that, actually. I should have brought that over. The conversation is always about, yes, how can we help you? But it's because we're looking for new business, right? And
Right.
so when the opportunity presents itself in that moment, and it does often, good timing,
Yeah.
opportunities happen. But this is different, right? This is something beyond that. This is a gesture. It's a different type of feeling that we're wanting to leave with someone. It's less, oh, here's David calling again, and more, wow, I did not expect this. This is super cool. And they just feel good, right? At the end of the day, they just feel good. Really, the only agenda is that leave somebody feeling good. So there were some objectives that we wanted to meet. It needed to be creative. We already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be affordable.
Oh yeah.
We can't break the bank on this, and we'll explore a little bit more.
I wish I can give them a Porsche.
I don't think that's just realistic in any business at all, right?
Because and not in these times of
well,
inflation.
Look at our size, and then look at anything that scales up. You're compounding the investment regardless, right? So our 500, 1,000, whatever is their 10, 50, 100,000, right? It just scales up that way. So we ended up going through a process, and we did some research around some of our favorite clients. Not our favorite clients, and they are favorite clients, but really the clients that all of our clients in some respect are our favorite clients, because they enabled us to do something maybe that we've never done before, or that they've never done before. And then we can come together in a co-creation and do something really fun.
Yeah, that is, and it's every client is special, and most of the clients, I think all of the clients we've worked with, they're so pleasant and so like we really connect to them. So yeah.
Mhm. Let's start with acknowledging some of the projects and the clients that we were working with and on, so that we had to decide where we were going to begin this creative process of figuring out what is the creative thing that we want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, what would be meaningful for that company, that person, in particular the person more so than the company. And the first one was Dogma.
Yes.
It was a bit of an easy one, and we should always start with the easy ones, I think.
Yeah, Dogma, it's been a client of ours for a while. Started with me, and it's really funny the how we came to be um, acquainted, and then when we it was through Instagram because they're vegetarian and they were making this purple soup. I was like, "What is that?" I want a purple soup because I it just looks really cool. And since then, we've been like working together. I've done pet portraits for all her uh, dogs.
All her dogs, clients.
Yeah, she has recommended me, and the very last one we did with her was the full uh, puppy enrichment.
The Puppy Enrichment Center. Yeah.
Puppy enrichment center, and it was so fun, like so much fun. I was a little. It's
To
one
be
of
clear as well, it was a mural on the walls of almost all the entire space, and the walls went about 25 feet high.
yeah. It was intimidating at first.
It was our first time using scaffolding.
Yeah, it was crazy. I going up and down. I feel like I'm pretty good at it because I'm very adaptable. But it's good to have a partner that has more muscle than I do and can do some of those big
Totally.
liftings.
Who was that? Yeah, so there was Dogma, and it was a bit easy, I think, for Dogma, just given the work that you had done with them before and the opportunity that it presented to really recognize and acknowledge them in a meaningful way. And we landed on, in their case, doing a couple, doing some elevation, some updated paintings of their pets, their dogs, and on new canvas. Right, some of the ones that they had were framed pieces. They were a bit older.
Yeah, those boys were like when I was starting.
That was like your first one or two.
19.
Yeah,
like back in the day.
And people are still hanging those up, which is pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah.
So Dogma was pretty easy, and then we thought about some of the other ones, some of the more recent ones. Labeled came up. Labeled is this marketing agency, video brand agency here in Calgary, and Riley and Jeremy, and their whole crew, they are super creative.
Yes.
And have this, they're always thinking about the big idea, right? The vision of the future, then that we have yet to really appreciate or understand, and how do we move in that direction? How do we tell a story that inspires people about what's possible, and they help their clients do that work? And we got to do a really fun exercise with them, right?
Yeah, and that came really quick.
It was like last minute,
unexpected, and I think that's one of the things that we are very good at it. When people ask to do certain things, we accommodate, and if we're excited about the project, we'll just make it happen. And that one that was an activation in Banff
At the gathering.
at the gathering at the Fairmont, and there was so many people, and it was really cool to see how people just got really engaged in painting with us and like doing these mini mural kind of like it was big canvases, but
It's like a paint by number. We wanted to minimize the barrier and the worry of like, oh, I can't do it. I might screw something up.
yeah, the idea was all about grab a brush and get out of your head and have this kind of like meditative way to, with all these people around you, like you just send into like these brush strokes, and then they left and they were happy, and they were, some of them came back a few times.
Absolutely. The whole premise of that was about embracing creativity, which is one of our mantras, really, when we look at the work that we've been doing for the last 15 years. And so for Jeremy and Riley, it was, we know them, we don't know them, right? We've been in the same circles for a handful of years now, probably coming on to 6 or 7 years. From a professional context, we have a good appreciation and respect for one another. But personally, which really is where the meaningful things live, we don't really know each other. So we did a little bit of snooping and online creeping too, and it was not easy actually because they had their accounts on private, right?
Yes.
I think, anyway, so they had their accounts on private. So we had to do a little bit of digging, and we came to some really impactful statements that they had made rather casually in a post here or in a caption on something else over there. And that triggered for me what we would use as our primary creative, the words that they use about something that's important to them in their life, which was pretty cool. Because then I think at that point it started to quickly unravel.
Yeah.
We were at first unsure what we were going to do with this whole thing.
Yeah. And I think it was, I don't know if it was because of Gary Vee being at the gathering and talking about that part, right? Like,
well, he didn't talk about that at the gathering.
That
was it was a follow-up video.
A follow-up video, yes. And he mentioned his client who bought, I think, one box or one wine, something small, and he sent him like a really, really cool jersey for his favorite team. And that was after a few, I don't know, some time, this person referred him, and then the referral was like this humongous client he got.
Yeah.
And I think it's super cool to have when you feel good and you have these good experiences, they stay with you and you share them. Like nobody has to pay you anything or give you anything, but yeah, it's just make it memorable and stay with those people.
So there's a few quotes then that really started to rise up to the top here. And there was one from Jeremy, and he said, "May we never lose our wonder." I love that quote. Lose our wonder. Oh. May we never lose our wonder. And that one, that one really, every time I hear it, it's such a great reminder.
Yeah, and I think we connected with the quotes. Like most people connect with the quotes, and we have quotes in our Pinterest boards, and we have quotes, and like you have one right now in your head.
That's right. Yeah, this is a shout out to Local Laundry and their other company, apparel company. I think it's CDN. I believe that's where the hats come from. I'm a sucker for a good line, a good one-liner, but it's got to be good, right? It's got to really make an impact.
Yeah, and I think our idea, we love the quotes and playing with typography. So, yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, nothing from Riley other than we get that he's a big picture thinker. He loves to think about the future and transformation, and that's the whole business that he's in. And so that quote worked, I think, for an option. And so we started to move on to the next client, and that was Cups.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about Cups.
Yeah, Cups was a call for artists. We didn't know anybody there.
We didn't, and it was an Instagram post.
We came across, and we right away reached out, went there, and that's something I think some artists that are starting are missing, because you're an artist, you don't know what to do with business development, or you're scared. Like I remember when I used to be so afraid to answering my phone or making a phone call. I
remember that too. Even client meetings, you'd sit there.
Yeah, and talk nothing. Do you have anything to add? What? Yeah, it was, and it was my English and feeling like people can not understand what I'm saying. And I mean, I've been here almost 17 years, so I have no excuse to not. Anyways, so we went there.
Tangent.
Yes. And we got the project.
Yeah. It was for 3 walls.
3 walls. Murals. And we did a little something for them right there.
We did, yeah. We definitely did something there to help seal the deal for winning the business. And that was the first acknowledgement of giving us the opportunity, the chance. You didn't really know us. And that's great. But those types of opportunities they are forgotten easily, right?
Yeah, because there's not, like, it is for the whole thing. Like, nobody else knew we did it for, like, what we did exactly.
No, we donated a wall. And it's not something that we would, other than this conversation here, it's not part of what we talk about, right? We saw the opportunity, we saw the value in it, and we did that work. Cups is an interesting organization because the people that work there, and we're going to speak specifically to Elaine and to Jesse, have worked there over 10 years, actually some close to 20 years. They are so committed to being in, and that was the experience of everybody there, to be in the service of others. And it was in their DNA, right?
It is.
It was just who they were, almost to the point where it's like, I feel like I should be doing more, but kind of coming from that guilty spot, right? So anyways, it's a funny little.
Yeah, it is. We're not used to it, to have so much giving from somebody.
No, we're not. And so for them, it reinforced just how important this was, that it needed to be meaningful from us. Yeah. It couldn't be something creative for the sake of being creative. For example, at the end, we repurposed, and it's not to bring lightness or insignificance to what we did, just knowing that it wouldn't really make the impact that maybe you're hoping that it makes. We recreated the murals on postcards for them to give out in whatever situation. and hopefully they're using them. That would be great. And that was one of those extra gestures.
Yeah, and I mean, we always create things and we hope they love them. And if they do, that is amazing. And if they don't, or like they forget about it, it doesn't really matter because we would never know.
No,
right?
we wouldn't.
And it's all about the giving part.
Yeah. So we realized that, and we're like, okay, what is it about Elaine and Jesse that we could use to channel this into something for them? And I should say that, and this is hindsight, like we should have really recorded that exercise of us together, and we didn't. We're new to this whole
Every time
recording process.
You do that, those cameras move.
Oh, okay. So we did a little bit of research on them. That's where we got to the realization of how much time they've spent at the organization and just what their passions for life were. And so new quotes started to emerge. But I think for them, we didn't actually have anything yet. We didn't really know what the quote would be for them. So we're like, okay, we got a sense of what it is that's important to them. Mm-hmm. And so then we moved on to the next client. And that was Alex at Oxford Properties South Centre. So talk to me a little bit about that project and what you ended up creating.
That's a client I've worked with before through Motif. Shout out to Jessica from Motif at South Centre. Like, she started this store, which is a store where she brings local artists to sell their products. So I help with their branding and some of the social media for the full first year. And I sold my stuff there up to the second year. Jessica is always recommending me. She's an amazing person and somebody that will be in here too in this little exercise. I think it's somebody that I want to give back.
She's got a big heart.
Yes.
And she is always serving others as well. Some might say
puzzles.
To a bit of a self-sacrificing detriment. I think this is a balancing act that those that are predominantly servants in terms of who they are, it can come at a cost, right?
Yeah, and it's also backgrounds, right? Like she's coming from Cuba.
Yes, that's true.
So in Cuba, you don't have anything. And even though you don't have anything, you give. Mm-hmm. So it's ingrained in her.
Yeah, it's in her DNA.
Yeah. Anyways, she recommended me for a project that I did before. It was a design for some notebooks that all the sales of those notebooks were gonna go into a charity to help kids. And since then, there was this other project. Well, what I did, this project, the 50 years of South Centre. And they did a big party. They invited different people, really fun people, artists, dancers, people hanging from the ceiling. And how do you call the ones that
they were on stilts?
Stilts.
A whole bunch of entertainers.
Yes, it was really fun. And I was there painting live. I got to talk to a lot of people that were really interested in like they wanted to paint, and most of them wanted to, like, the kids wanted to paint more than the adults. That's very interesting always. The adults are very...
Well, we've had creativity beat out of us.
Yes.
Right? So society does not prioritize the value of creativity. That's a different conversation.
Yes. It was December 31st, 2024. Yep. Painting live all day in the mall.
Yeah. It was a great opportunity. And so when we dug a little bit deeper on Alex, there was something that came up that we resonated with. And she said in a post somewhere, maybe status update.
It is her kind of like the description of who she is on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. And she said, dream big because dreams do come true. So that was Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us another little source of inspiration.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about cups. We talked a little bit about Oxford. Now let's circle back to the gathering. And truly, we could have done this for, I think we did it for like 2-3 hours all in, like just this brainstorming, this ideation of what are we going to do here to recognize and create something meaningful, not only meaningful for us, but meaningful for others. And so these were the ones that rose to the top. So the last one then that we started to explore was the gathering, because we were just there. We were just talking about it. And two people, but truly three people in particular, Mandy, Carrera, and Ryan. Right, Ryan did an incredible speech. He has always been a guy about embracing vulnerability,
Yep.
and even though he might seem like he's a little cold off the cuff, the guy's got a big heart, right? And Mandy, it was really, I don't know her as well as you know her, but it was really great to see her in that role, that new role as president for the gathering, and being the steward for what's next. So I've always admired what her and James are up to. James from Righteous Gelato and the things that they're creating. And so for us, it was an easy one to start to explore, right? Yeah. Like what's important to them. Intuitively, we kind of think we know, but what are they saying? What have been the experiences as they've been living their life? And this is why social media is so great. So what did we come across when it came to Mandy?
Mandy, I promise I will make you so proud.
Oh, man. And this was a statement to herself, right? Like it's an internal mantra. So whenever you're looking at yourself in the mirror or talking to yourself about things, it is a reminder, right? Like this game that we're playing here. Yes. And who it's for.
Yes. And we learned this a while ago. Words had meaning, and they're very powerful, and the more you say these words to yourself, they remind you and they make you keep going. Sometimes they fall into the, I did something wrong and I talk bad, like really bad to myself. Internally. I never express it. Well, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm so whatever. But this exercise was a really good reminder of like keep positive and the words of affirmation and seeing these big people doing amazing things out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrera was the next one. Carrera is one of those people that you just can't help but want to be around, right? She's got this contagious element to her enthusiasm and her drive and her determination. Like she was just always on the go, always, hey, asking, what can I do to help? Are you good? And truly meaning it, not just saying it because she's in that role. And again, almost to a detriment, right? Because she's going so much, so fast, so often, forgetting about self, right? Yes. But then this is the game that we're all grappling with, as you've said. And so she said, so we started to creep her, we creeped her social media, and she said, sun scrambling in summits, because that's who she is,
Yes.
right? And we see her in others in our network that are really big in terms of the outdoors, right? Yourself, Milena, and that whole crew of Blooming Diversity. Uh, Jeremy or her boyfriend, they're all big advocates of the outdoors, right? And I'm a big fan of alliteration. So when I see that and where that came from, how that came about, I have no idea, but I was drawn to that as something that really does mean something deep down, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of came up as a contender for this exercise that we were going through. So we have all these ideas. We defaulted to t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's the big thing. It's always been the big thing. Like if you can express yourself through what you wear, then you're going to do that.
Did we say that before the t-shirts we were thinking something really personalized, like what would they like? And we came back to like, okay, well, we don't know them that well to do that. So
It
let's
had
keep
to
it
be
simple.
authentic, right? It had to come from a genuine place of wanting to recognize them. And we also had to come to grips with the truth. We don't know them that well. And so how do we bridge that gap and recognize them as well as others along the journey? Because there's been so many people that we've been interacting with that we haven't had a chance to do business with that will leave an impression on them the way I would appreciate having someone leave an impression on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I just can't forget, undeniable. And it's no easy task, right? This is a big order, a tall order. So t-shirts was the low hanging fruit. T-shirts, and then we started to explore. Okay, well maybe we do t-shirts, and then we do some stickers, right? We however we decide to use the messages of affirmation, we'll produce something because this is our background. This is what we do. This is part of now our gesture of acknowledgement by giving them a piece of what we're able to do. Right? It's a piece of our soul, truly, in each of these pieces. And we were humming and hawing on it. We were looking at t-shirt sizes. What happened exactly?
Well, you mentioned, well, we could use the laser print, the laser
Laser
cutting
machine.
machine, um, to do the t-shirts. And
Mm.
that brought me into this thing that I wanted to do 2 years ago.
Well,
And
you
I
did
didn't.
do it.
I did, but
You started it.
I haven't done much extra for that.
Right, right. And that's the crux of every creative is we want to do everything and all of it and all at once.
Yes.
And it never works very well. So we came across this idea, and we'll show some examples of it. Basically, it's words cut out of wood or some sort of substrate, right? And then there's this dynamic, how would you describe it? Like there's a stacking
Yeah.
of the words in a really interesting way that just made it so visually compelling for me.
It's a part of uh well, it's a layering thing, a stacking, but it it is so organic in like the way that the typography is, like it's handmade.
The flow of the typography,
The
absolutely.
light and the color and the shadows that just few layers adding to the whole piece is
Yeah.
what really makes the piece. And like you can, when we were talking about these and we had already all these quotes and all these sayings, it's like I can just see them and I want them all in my wall.
Uh-huh. Yeah, on your wall, on your desk, whatever. And it was all of a sudden, for me, the thought of creating a t-shirt was cool because I do want to do that stuff. And I'm always looking for an opportunity to do it and actually do it, because usually the opportunity is self-inflicted, and so not a priority, not urgent, and then just gets forgotten. But when you're doing it for somebody else, now it becomes a bit more urgent. But there was something missing in the creative process for that. Like I think the end result, the aha moment, it was finite. It would only go so far, right? This, it's perpetual. Like it goes.
You know what?
forever.
I think it was like I see it as a piece of art,
True.
not a T-shirt that in few years they're like,
Yeah, that was cool.
yeah,
Give it to the kids or the dog. Maybe wears
use it as
now.
a rag for the kitchen. I don't know. As an artist, that I've been doing this for a little while, and people collect my artwork. I can see these pieces being like something that, even though they might not be as big as we wanted to make them for them, because shipping and things.
And we'll talk a little bit about those variables. Yeah.
I think it's a piece that if they want to, they will reach out and say, "Hey, can we do this something like bigger?" Like, I don't know, it's all these opportunities, because I just love like I can see each of the quotes and they just look so cool.
Yes. And you and I have we tend to want to explore some of that expression using typography in our creative work. And this is just like one of those great excuses to be able to do that. And we needed to make sure that it was manageable, right?
Yeah.
That the machine could handle it, and that we could ship it if we needed to, and it's not going to break the bank shipping wise, not going to be too heavy. So there's a whole bunch of variables that we're in the process of better understanding, and we'll take you on that journey as we go through it. So where we're at right now is we've got this idea, and we have been riffing on the possibility of what could be. And this is always the funnest stage, because right now there's no skin in the game. There's no FAFO happening, right? We're not screwing anything up. We're not cutting fingers and doing all that. Like none of that stuff's happening right now. So it's pure bliss, right? Like all we see is the end result, and
it's still here.
It's perfect, right? Nothing could jade it and compromise it. Now, because we've done this so many times, we are mindful of keeping it stupidly simple, right? Don't complicate it. Are we complicating it? Can we remove the complication out of it so that we don't get to that point?
Yeah.
And so the next chapter now will be around exploring the concept. So we're going to do a little roaming. We're going to do some sketches of the typography of the art piece themselves for each of the quotes. We didn't share all the quotes. We're not going to share all the quotes because there's got to be some magic here. That'll be part of this ongoing journey that we're going to take you on.